at the U.S. southern border. She tweeted this yesterday. The far right loves to drum up fear and resistance to immigrants. But have you ever noticed that they never talk about what's causing people to flee their homes in the first place? Perhaps that's because they'd be forced to confront one major factor fueling global migration: climate change. Joining me right now is Republican strategist from our White House correspondent, Ronica. And Ronica, it's good to have you on the program. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, your reaction to that?
Well, you know, it's an interesting perspective. It's certainly not one that I agree with, and it's ignoring the fact that I think Republicans are pro-immigration. I think that's one of the things that they really need to present well in the 2020 election, that the Democrats have taken hold of and I think misled people about. It's not that they are anti-immigrant, it's that they want to control illegal immigration at the border.
I think this is a really important point, because when you hear people talking about it on the left, they keep saying that the administration is against immigration. In fact, the U.S. lets in more than 1 million people every year from a variety of countries. And the president and this administration is trying to crack down on illegal immigration.
Yeah, it's just an easy talking point, but it is one that we will have to fight. I think it's part of the reason why the president has made the decisions that he's made at the Department of Homeland Security, because right now the talking points in the headlines are very negative, and I think immigration is an important point that Republicans will have to, you know, better present in 2020.
Well, are the Republicans actually going to come up with a plan to present a better option, right, and work on DACA and the Dreamers, and are they going to use a platform to combat that argument?
Well,
for
I
the
can tell you
election?
the one thing that maybe Senator Lindsey Graham will work on that will help the problem with people pouring in claiming asylum. It is to reverse this. It was a law that was passed, the William Wilberforce Trafficking Victims Protection Reauthorization Act, back in late 2008, before President Obama took office. And it basically gave new protections to children coming into this country who weren't from contiguous nations, Mexico or Canada. And it basically, kept them from being sent back to their home countries quickly. And this is one of the reasons that you're seeing such an influx of children with adults coming in from, say, Central America, is because you cannot get them back to their home country quickly. That's one central thing that maybe Congress, certainly Lindsey Graham, would help push and work on.
And I mean, to suggest that there is no solution, I think the solution is complicated, and I think the Democrats are making it difficult to accomplish, you know, the key tenet of President Trump's campaign, which was securing our border. And the idea that so many Democrats publicly supported that idea in previous years, but now that it's a campaign promise, suddenly they're opposed to something that I'm not sure I understand how, you know, saying a country is not a country without borders is controversial. That's very confusing.
And you know, I mean, Nancy Pelosi calling the wall immoral for so long. This is all about theater, as you said it, John. I mean, that was very much on display yesterday. Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin went head-to-head with Financial Services Committee Chairwoman Maxine Waters during yesterday's hearing. Things got heated after Mnuchin asked to end the 3+ hour testimony. It was after 5 p.m. He said he had to get a meeting with a foreign official who was in his office at the time. Watch this.
Okay, so we're dismissed. Is that correct?
If you wish to leave, you may leave.
I don't understand what you're saying.
You're wasting your time. Don't remember you have a foreign dignitary in your office.
I would just say that the previous when the Republicans, they did not treat the Secretary of the Treasury this way. So if this is the way you want to treat me, then I'll rethink whether I voluntarily come back here to testify, which I've offered to do.
This is after 3 hours, as you mentioned earlier, John. She wanted to be heard.
Well, on the point of theater, like I did high school debate, right? Yeah. And in high school debate, like if you mess up once, it's like you lose the debate, right? And he made this comment where he's like, well, if you want me to stay, then I'll stay. And then she said, well, I take you up on your offer. Yeah. And then he's like, well, I didn't mean it like that. What I meant is I need to go. And that's what it's come down to. It's theater. It's Lincoln Douglas debate. If you make one word the wrong way, you get hit with a point. I mean, that's what it's like.
Yeah, that is so true. The idea of theater is exactly what I thought of, theater and clicks. And, you know, unfortunately, politicians know what they're doing, right? They're manipulating the system to be a part of that theater. It's after 5 o'clock. It's been over 3 hours. No one is watching that, but what we are watching now is the soundbite of that exchange, and she can say, look how powerful I was. I made him stay. I made him miss this meeting.
Right.
And it's unnecessary.
This is the next 2 years. I have news for you. This is the last 2 years.
This is the bank hearings 2 hours from now.
Exactly. So what are they going to? Are they going to talk about compensation? Are they going to talk about privacy? I mean, with this bank hearing,
I think they're going to go back to the financial crisis. I mean, if you want to get the most points on the board, you're going to go back to the financial crisis and say, why are none of you in jail?
Tax breaks and regulation are on the agenda.
Yeah, tax breaks and regulation.
Yeah.
Ronica, it's great to get your insights. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, coming up, Israeli elections. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu holding